In this video, we're going to be torture testing this new door lock from TCL that reads the palm of your hand to lock and unlock your door. We're going to be blasting this thing with the desert sun. We're going to be throwing it in a freezer to see if it works in sub-zero temperatures. We're going to be throwing on some night vision here, going into a completely light sealed room to see if this thing will see me and read my hand with zero light coming in. But first we've got to install it. So the way this video works and the way all of our videos work is first we show the installation and setup process of something, and then we torture test it, and then we go over all the pros and cons. So if these are the kind of videos that you like, honest DIY videos that help you do things around the house, and torture testing videos where you get to see if something actually performs before you spend your money on it, consider hitting that subscribe button. It really would help the channel out. But right now, let's get into the install. Now, the second reason why I built this rig was because then I can show you how to install everything on a door without having to go to my front door, and that way I can show you all the angles and ins and outs. Now, the setup is sort of done through the app. A lot of the other products I've had along these lines, it has step-by-step instructions on the installation in the app. This one does not. When you go in the app, it just sets up the electronic side of it. It comes with a little card that gives you some very basic instructions, so you might want to follow along in this video. If you already know how to install a lock, you don't need this. I'll have a timestamp down below. You can jump ahead to the electronic setup and me running it through with all its paces. But right now, let's get this part set up. Now, the first part we're going to install is this part right here. This is the plunger that is at the actual bar mechanism that is the lock. We're going to put it into our door. Now, something to note is on the bottom of this thing, it does say up with an arrow. You want to make sure you follow that direction. So in that goes, and it should be a pretty tight fit. And we'll get it right in place. We do want to make sure that's vertical, and then we've got some hardware to install. Something to note, and this is pretty cool, is that this entire lock can be installed with just a screwdriver, assuming your door is already set up for a deadbolt. If it's not set up for a deadbolt, you're gonna have to cut some holes in the door for a deadbolt. So now we've got our plunger installed with those two screws. We can turn our attention now to the door lock itself. And the keypad side of the door lock is going to go on the outside of the door, facing out. And you'll see this bar here. That bar needs to sleeve directly through. There's a little T-slot right there. So when you put this in, so you need to guide the wire underneath, and then the bar itself goes right through that slot. And you want to make sure the bar is horizontal, not vertical, when you slide it through. And then the entire thing should be able to slip straight through. Now with the door lock against the door, we can turn our attention to the inside. And on the inside, we have this plate. The wiring goes through the large hole right there, and then everything else lines up. Next, we have these long screws. Those long screws will go through these holes and mate up with the door lock on the back side. Getting these lined up can be a little bit tricky. So sometimes it's a little bit easier to back this off a little bit just so you can get everything lined up, and then you can tighten it up with your screwdriver. Now, this plate here is what the inside of the door lock is going to mount to. So something you want to really be careful of is make sure that this thing is perfectly vertical before you tighten everything down, because if you don't, the actual door lock that's going to be mounted to this won't be vertical. Now we can install the outside of the door lock. Take the battery cover off first, and we're going to start by clicking in the wiring harness and then sliding the lock over this piece right here. Now, you may have to rotate the knob here to get it to line up. That is fine. We're going to get that to sleeve over, and then it's a little game of just tucking the wires up inside. With that in place, we have these two additional screws that are going to go through here. This is what attaches the interior of the door lock to the plate. At this point, I always like to check and make sure that this part is running freely. If it's binding up at all, you want to loosen everything up, kind of readjust it until it is free, and then you're good to go. Now we can start setting things up in the app. We're going to start by taking our battery, putting it into the door lock. We got that little chime, and now I'm going to have my phone going, and we're going to set this thing up. So this is the portion now where we're going to be setting up the lock through the app, setting up our hand, palm, scanning stuff, and all that stuff. So this is the D2 Pro, so we're going to select D2 Pro, and we're going to hit that sync button. Now, the sync button is on the inside.
Ready for setup.
So now it's time to hook the phone up to our network. I already found it. Our network name here is HAL. Leave a comment down below if you know where I got that network name from. It'll show how old you are. Now, I didn't show you putting my password in because hackers.
Hack the planet! Hack the planet!
Shut up and get in the car!
Hack the planet!
So now we're gonna set up the calibration. Now the door obviously is not in a door frame, but it wants to know that I have closed and locked the door. So I've closed it and I've locked it.
Calibration completed.
So I haven't set up the palm scanning in this thing yet, but I believe at this point it should take the PIN number that I put in. So we're gonna remove this sticker here and let's see if it works. Again, not gonna show you my password. Hey, it worked. Look at that.
Door unlocked.
And I actually just got a notification on my phone saying the door was unlocked. Now we got to figure out how to set up this palm scan thing, because that's the hot ticket item with this. So to set up the palm scan, we're going to go to user management, and right now it's administrator. That's me. We're going to scan my palm, and I haven't done this before, so here's my door. We're going to add palm, and it tells me to hold up my palm.
Hold your palm steadily over the scanner until enrollment added successfully.
That was pretty quick. I'm going to add my other hand just in case, my left hand. So let's switch sides.
Your palm steadily over the scanner until enrollment added successfully.
Cool. All right. So apparently I got my hands in this thing. I've never used a palm scan type door lock before. So I'm curious how long it's going to take to unlock the door versus my thumbprint door locks. Let's try it.
Door unlocked.
That was fast. That's cool. I didn't realize that. It's a doorbell too. So that's kind of neat. Now it does also have a traditional key lock. So if the entire thing fails, the power goes out, battery dies, whatever,
Door locked. Door unlocked.
you can still lock and unlock it with a key. One other thing that's kind of neat is when it senses somebody coming up, it illuminates a little doorbell here. So if you don't have a doorbell, it works as a doorbell. Now it's time to start testing this thing out. So that's also the reason why I built this jig. Before I could just put it on my front door, and my front door is shaded all the time. I live in the desert, so we're gonna put this thing up front and blast it with the setting sun, see how it does with the palm detection with the sun blasting in the lens. Then we're gonna stick it in my freezer and let it freeze for a little bit to see how it does when it is 0 degrees. And another thing I've been curious about, because this thing relies on a camera and it relies on knowing you're walking up, we're gonna throw on my nogs here, go into a completely sealed room with 0 light getting in to see if this thing can even see me coming up when there's no light and still work with my hand. So let's get to the testing. So because we live in the desert, we're gonna be simulating the Arctic North by throwing this thing in our freezer, which is sitting at 0 degrees.
Hey, what are you doing in the freezer?
Nothing! Let's check back in an hour. So we've had this thing in the fridge for a while. Let's crack it open and see how it does. So it's definitely got some frost all over it. It is cold.
Door unlocked.
Did it. Did it again.
Door unlocked.
Now what I am curious about is I'm gonna breathe on this thing and get it kind of steamed up the same way it would be if it got frosty out. Try it again. So that seems to cause an issue. I'm going to try wiping it. No problem. So if it's cold out and you've got a lot of condensation or frost on it, you are going to have to kind of wipe it off with your hand or use the keypad. But it will still work in the cold, just not if the lenses are frosted over. So like I may have mentioned earlier in the video, I live in Southern California and we get blasted by that fireball in the sky. And I wanted to see, so I brought it out in the backyard. In the sunniest spot I got, I put it right there. I want to see how the sun affects it. So we're going to come right at it right now. Seems to work. I want to kick it at an angle though, because I want to make sure the sun is blasting that sensor while my hand's over it, just to see if that causes any problems.
Door unlocked.
Doesn't seem to be causing any problems. I actually let this thing sit out here for about an hour to really heat up to see if that caused a problem too, because it's been baking in the sun. That hasn't been an issue. Now, while we're back here in the sun, this is worth testing. I have a pool, and I can't be the only one that ever has to unlock my door with a wet hand. Now, my thumbprint scanner does not work when my hand's wet. Let's see what happens here.
Door unlocked.
Nope, no problem. Let's try it again. No problem. So
Unlocked.
Wet hand seems to work fine. What about a dirty hand? All right, so I've been out gardening. Got to get into the house. Will this work? Apparently not. Not really surprised, but I've wiped off some of the dirt. Now, how about now? I'd lick it off, but it's probably a bad idea. Okay, I've gotten it relatively clean adjacent. Okay, so I've still got some dirt on my hand, so it's not clean, but it's not filthy. And it did unlock. So you will have to wipe your hand off if you're out gardening, but I can tell you right now, this thumb would not unlock my thumb scanner. Well, this is now officially the weirdest thing I've ever filmed on this channel. I'm sitting in my hallway bathroom with this thing and my Nogs on. And the reason for this, and my apologies for the vent fan running, I don't really have a way to turn it off in here. I'm gonna turn off the lights. I'm gonna be running thermals on this, so there will be no light getting in this bathroom at all. It's the darkest room I have in the house, and we're gonna see if this thing still works. Now, when I turn the lights off, you're probably not gonna be able to see anything, but you'll hear it. All right, so all lights are off. I can see through my thermals, I can see this thing. And you might have been able to hear, you might have seen the little green light pop on. Let's try it again.
Door unlocked.
So we have our answer. In zero light conditions, zero light, this thing will still work. And I finally put my thermals to good use. Now, the last thing I want to do is kind of a ridiculous test. It's more just because I'm curious, is if I put my hand on a copier and make a print of my hand and I hold my print up, will it work? Let's try. We're going to stick our hand on the copier here. Hey, look, I'm waving at me. All right, so here we go. Nope. Okay, let's put my hand in front of it really quick, wake it up, then do that. Nope. So I guess we answered the question that probably didn't need to be answered, which is if a criminal got a copy of my hand, could they get into my house? And no. Now, something you may have noticed through this video and all the locking and unlocking is that it was doing a lot of unlocking, wasn't doing any locking.
Door unlocked.
Unlocked.
Door unlocked.
And unlocked again. How the heck do you lock it? I guess I should have read the manual. So to lock the door, you can lock it with the manual key, or you can come up and touch the keypad here, and you see there's a lock icon. Just hold it, and it locks.
Door locked.
You don't need to scan a palm, punch in a keypad, use an RFID tag. You just push a button and it locks. Now, we'll talk about that in just a second. But now that we've gone through kind of all the basic tests, a couple other things I do want to mention is you can set up multiple profiles in this thing for multiple family members. You can also set up guest codes and time limit them so somebody has access to 24 or 48 hours. So if you have people pet sitting or things like that, you can give them access and then take it away, which is really cool. It's easier than lending a key out and then having to get it back or whatnot. This thing is also compatible with some smart home systems, but not all. It's compatible with Google Home and Amazon Alexa. I'm not going to say the word, trigger all your stuff. But right now, because we've kind of gone through everything, we've torture tested, we've froze it, we've cooked it, we've thrown it in the dark, let's go over the kind of my takeaway on this and the pros and cons so you can make an informed decision if this is the lock you want on the front of your house. So first, let's hit those pros. As you saw, this thing worked very well in pretty much every condition we threw at it, except very dirty hands, which that's kind of to be expected, and in a very cold environment where it gets so cold that you would get like frost over the thing, although wiping the frost off took care of the problem. The reaction time on this thing is very fast. Easily as fast as my thumbprint scanners and a heck of a lot faster than digging through your pockets to find keys. Now, I've had a lot of different smart locks on my house over the years, and I can say I love having smart locks just for the convenience of them. Everybody in the house can get in and out either with a keypad, a thumbprint, or a hand, and it means that if you forget your keys, you're probably not going to forget your hand. I haven't tried it, but some phones and other devices have RFID tags built into it, and I wonder if you could pair them up to this thing. Haven't tried it, but it would be cool to experiment around with. Actually, let's do it right now. I forgot, I actually have an RFID tag. This is from one of the scooters we recently had on the channel. Why not? Let's give it a go. So we're going to go back into user management, and we are going to add another RFID tag. Gave me a bad sound. Let's try it again.
Please hold card near the recognition area. Added successfully.
Huh. So this is not a TCL RFID tag. Son of a gun.
Door unlocked.
It worked. I wonder if, because they are in phones, or is sort of an RFID thing in phones, let's give that a whirl.
Please hold card near the recognition area.
Doesn't seem to be working for the phone, but it worked for a different RFID tag, which is cool. You might be able to just get tags on Amazon and make them work, I suppose. The lock itself seems pretty robust, but it would be interesting to see like lockpicking lawyer get their hands on one of these things. But the fact that it has a regular lock with a standard kind of Schlage style key, so you can have backups hidden if you need it, that's cool. And something I didn't show earlier in the video is underneath there is a charging port on the outside. That's what's been hanging open. You can close that here. That's just a charging port. So if this thing dies, you can grab your little battery pack you might have in your backpack of your car, plug it and charge it up from the outside so you can get in. That would be if you forgot your mechanical key. We showed earlier in the video that you can't take a picture of someone's hand and hold it in front of it. It's got to be a physical hand. So if somebody did manage to sneak a picture of your hand, the way everybody talks about on the internet, people sneaking pictures of keys and cutting keys, that wouldn't work. I don't have the time to kind of try to cut a clay hand, but maybe that would work. I don't know. But all in all, it is a pretty impressive package. But as we know, not everything is perfect, so let's talk about the cons. And the first con is something we just talked about, and that is the locking feature. I don't know why you can't switch it, so you have to have a palm scan to lock the lock. I could see that there would be instances where you wouldn't want somebody to be able to lock the lock from the outside. You wouldn't want somebody just to be able to go up and lock your house or lock your door or lock a room if you were using this in a room in your house or something like that. You would want to use a key, which would be your hand. So if that's a concern of yours, this lock's not for you, because I could not find a way to change it to require a hand for the locking portion of the lock. I talk about this all in my smart locks because people have different opinions on this. The battery in the back thing is a lithium rechargeable battery. You take it out and you plug it in with a USB Type-C cord. Good that it's a USB-C, because I've seen stuff still coming out with micro USB. I don't know why. But some people like these. Some people like the locks that just run on standard AA batteries. And the world's kind of split on that. Another thing to consider is this will only work on a door that you have clearance for. So when you are shopping for one of these and you think this is the way you want to go, make sure you take a look at your door and make sure you have vertical clearance. Remember, the hole is right here, so you need clearance above it, and it'll only work on a door that is set up to have a deadbolt. If you just have a doorknob, this won't work. Now, you can cut your door for a deadbolt, and that's a whole separate video. Earlier we did mention that this thing does work with some of the smart home platforms. It does not, however, work with things like HomeKit. I have a Habitat, so if you're running a system like that, it doesn't work with that, and it's not Matter compatible. So that is something to think about depending on what platform you're on. I tend to like things going the direction of Matter right now, because that is kind of future-proof-ish. But if you want to check out all the specs on this lock for yourself, I will have links for this thing down in the description below, so you can check those out. Now, if these kind of videos, if you like them, videos where we give complete, honest reviews, torture test things, and show you how they work, please consider hitting that subscribe button. It really does help out the channel, and it'll let you know when we put out more videos just like this. If you have any questions about this door lock, the install, the app, or anything about it, please leave them down in the comments below. I'm happy to answer those questions. I have to ask, because this is YouTube, give this video a great big thumbs up, and of course, thanks for watching.